Hello, everybody, and indeed, welcome to another edition of In the Green Room with Chicago Tony V. Today, it was my great pleasure to spend some time with a new friend. That's Ross Trevena. He is the host of the Ross Trevena Project. I now welcome to the Green Room, Ross Trevena. Welcome, Ross. How are you today?
Fine, thank you.
Can you believe I nailed the intro on the first time, Ross? This is so exciting.
I managed to nail not laughing as well.
It's a good start. I have a very optimistic view of our session today. I guess we're sitting here laughing about the intricacies of the technical side of podcasting. There's a lot I want to talk to you about, Ross, because frankly, I know very, very little about you. I guess we'll start with the little bit I do know about you. We'll start there. And for those listeners/viewers that are not aware, Ross, you were kind enough to have me on your show last week. So again, your show is the Ross Trevena Project. Why don't you just start with telling us a little bit about your show and the history of it?
Oh, history of it. Well, it's an interview show I decided to start during lockdown, but interestingly enough, I actually recorded the first 2 episodes a year before I did the rest because I'm a horrible procrastinator, and so I had these 2 in the bank, and then it wasn't till lockdown that I got around to recording the rest. And then since then I've just at first it started off just interviewing like interesting people I knew personally, and then I actually ended up getting around to interviewing people whose work I'd seen online as well. So yeah, really interesting.
I know I went back in preparation for our session here today. I went back and I went to the very first episode. I listened to the first few episodes, and then after that I kind of jumped around. I think I detected that, and correct me if I'm wrong, it seemed even like your audio setup for those first 2 were even totally different from later shows.
Potentially. It's so hard to remember.
The equipment you were recording into.
Oh, I might have used a different microphone actually for the first 2. That's a good point. I hadn't thought of that, but I have like 2 microphones. One's red and one's blue, so I might have used the blue one for the first 2. Yeah.
Now, way back when you started your first 2 episodes, you said it was pre-pandemic. Did you always have the idea that you were going to be doing a podcast, or what was your thinking?
Absolutely, yeah. Since like, how long before would it have been? Maybe like 5 or 6 years before, I actually did do another podcast with a friend of mine called Fish, who I had on in like episode 7 or something like that. And we started doing one together, and we recorded like 5, maybe 6 episodes. I can't remember, and we just never released them. So yeah, and then since then I wanted to do a podcast. It took being stuck in the house with nothing else to do to actually force me to do it.
Do you get the feeling, Ross? Well, of course, that's part of my story too. Like my show, as you know, was born during the pandemic. Do you get the feeling that there are just scads of people clinging to podcasting just as a way to kind of cling to their own sanity?
Yes, and other kinds of pandemic lockdown projects as well. But yeah, especially podcasts and like getting to talk to people. I don't know how sane I would have been by the end of it. Who would you have had to talk to if you didn't have your podcast? Like, amount of people.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I could have called up family members here and there, and staff members, that sort of thing. But none of those people are very crazy. I don't know about you, Ross, and I've listened to enough of your show that there's a breadth of guests and a breadth of personalities and backgrounds. I guess one would say I'm one of the crazy people that has appeared on your show, but there's quite a flavor of guests that you can get when you have a podcast, as opposed to all the responsible people in your normal life.
For sure. I think
Do you have certain guests that have been favorites that you've really enjoyed, maybe unexpectedly even?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, obviously, the most recent ones with you and Tim were really good because I didn't really know much of your stuff before I started researching to do the podcast, so that was really good. Like having two in a row that went really well. Actually, the last one I recorded as well the other day went really well. In regards to one that was unexpected actually was an early one I did with a friend of mine called Tommy Collins, and he like I knew he did like loads of charity work as well, so that's why I wanted to have him on. He's a really good storyteller, and he just he had a story that I wasn't aware about when it came to him being on the show, that he had gone to the West Bank and to go to do some charity work, and you have to go through the borders of Israel to get there. And I don't know whether this was good advice or not, but the people who had advised him to go what to do when you get there, that like told him that you shouldn't tell them that you're going to West Bank or not, because they wouldn't let you in. I don't know whether that's true or not, or whether that was good information. So he just had a really hard time going in and out of Israel. It's quite a funny story. I would encourage your listeners to go take a listen. But yeah, so and the
I haven't heard that one yet.
No.
Yeah, that sounds very interesting.
And so the end of the story was just him getting banned from Israel basically for 10 years or so. Was it 10 years? Well, definitely. I think it was 10 years. So.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Yeah, that's a new one. Do you find that I think there's something interesting about when you press record and you have guests on and now all you've done is interviews, which has been great. I've had more subtle guests, people call into my show, but I find that there's something very interesting about recording. Sometimes, people are guarded, but then sometimes it's even the opposite. And it sounds like maybe your friend was this way. They tell you more than you ever knew or expected. Isn't that interesting?
It is, isn't it? You never know whether someone's gonna be very talkative or not. Unfortunately, everyone I've had on has been talkative, even more talkative than me, which is surprising. But yeah, so it's been super good so far.
Well, as I said, Ross, it's interesting. I've spent a lot of time trying to study you, as you did me, I'm sure, before I came on your show. Now, what's interesting about you, Ross, is I can listen. And I've listened to a bunch of your episodes. I don't know all that much about you. It's kind of interesting how, I mean, you're a very focused. It's almost like you approach this like a journalist. You have this way of your guest is the feature of the show, and it is kind of interesting trying to figure something out about you. So I have learned you're a musician and you have this history with music. Tell me more about that.
Where to start? Well, I started playing guitar at the age of 13. I think it was with my friend Ian, who we ended up being in a band together. And that episode you're referring to is with Steve, I guess, who was the bassist in that band. And then with a friend Jamie as well, we all started like playing our instruments together pretty much the same time. And I think it was because we had actually been to a show where we saw the people in the band being quite good with the ladies, which we weren't really at the time. So yeah, that's probably how many male pursuits start. So then we were like, the band was really good actually for how long we've been playing. Like Ian was like an incredible songwriter, and so yeah, he wrote most of the songs. And then we broke up, like, I'm not sure how long we were together, like a couple of years we were together for, and then we broke up. And unfortunately, Ian died of meningitis, like when he was 18. So that's a really sad story. Since then, musically, I studied music at college and university. I did music, what was it called? Popular music at college, which was really good. And then I did a university course, which was less good, but it's still good because I met the lady I'm going to marry soon, so that's good. I met her there.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very
That's
much.
terrific.
Yeah, our wedding was supposed to be last year because of the lockdown. It's been rescheduled.
Oh, man.
Sorry, what was I going with this?
That's no good. That's no good, Ross. She has time to back out. This is no good. We need to get her.
Change her mind. And then, what was I going to say next? Now I'm in a band with her, Joanna and Dropouts, which is the t-shirt I'm wearing. So that's our
really?
band. Yeah. So we've been playing together for... We were probably doing it for a year before the lockdown, and then obviously it took a hiatus over the lockdown. And we had our first practice together since things have started opening up the other day. So yeah, that's good. So that's a broad history.
Wow, that has to feel good.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Wow. Now, do you make a living from music, or is this a serious hobby?
It's a serious hobby at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah. I suppose if you made a living from music, you'd be an absolutely rarefied air. I've been a musician long enough to know that almost no one makes a living from it. I suppose there are some real similarities between musicianship and podcasting. Same deal.
I imagine so.
But it sure is fun, though.
It sure is.
What made you? What keeps you going with your podcast, Ross? Do you have kind of a vision for where it's all going to go and goals, or are you just going to see where it takes you?
See where it takes me. At the moment, I've set like 100 episode limit to saying that I can't back out until then, so it gives me enough time to see whether it's still worth pursuing after that. But yeah, I've enjoyed it. Obviously, I have my days where I'm like, why am I doing this? It does take up a lot of time, doesn't it? But yeah, it's been really enjoyable, and I do enjoy talking to people, and like we would never have met, and the amount of interesting people I've managed to persuade to talk to me for an hour is quite astounding. So yeah. How about you?
Yeah.
Have you got any goals?
I do think. I don't have exactly set goals, although I would say that. And by the way, I just want to acknowledge. Don't think I haven't noticed, Ross, that you've now pivoted. See, now you ask me a question. You're going to your comfort zone. I'm going to answer your question, but I'm going to let you know I'm not going to let you take over this. This isn't going to become another Ross Trevena show episode. Anyway. I'm just kidding with you. I don't have very specific goals other than it's interesting you mentioned a 100 episode limit. You aren't going to let yourself quit before then. And I have kind of decided I am going to do my show for a solid year and then reassess. And so now with me, that's probably going to end up, I don't know, being 200 shows or something like that. I'm at 76. I started on January 1. I would like the show to become at some point self-supporting, because I just know myself pretty well. Like I like to, if I'm doing something, I like to try to excel at it. That's just kind of how I'm wired. And I think it would really frustrate me. And so, I mean, in a sense, I have kind of staff people already. You know, I have a video guy, I have some administrative help. And, so I'm supporting that, which is fine. But in the back of my mind, I just think it would be nice for the show to become self-supporting. I don't need to, make a fortune with it or anything. But so I'm thinking about solving that riddle. Have you started to look at monetizing your podcast, and have you started thinking along those lines?
I always think about how nice it would be, but no, I'm not in a position currently that I could. I guess I've thought a lot about merch and stuff. That could be a good way to go, like getting stickers and hats and t-shirts, and then once the views are high enough, then also getting advertising as well. That is the ideal situation for me, is being able to make the money so I can start actually outsourcing most of the process to other people. That's what I'm looking forward to most.
Yes.
Yeah. I hope that's the case.
Oh, I totally understand. Yeah. People don't realize that how hard podcasters work. There's so much behind the scenes. And I guess, I think it's good experience probably for a lot of people. It just dawns on me, Ross, with your music background, and I did catch the episode where you were talking about the band you had with your friend Ian, who passed away. It occurred to me that you have probably amassed some experience in terms of how to market your band and public relations and those sorts of things that have actually maybe served you well as a podcaster also. Can you think of connections along those lines?
Not sure. I don't see myself as a very good marketer, to be honest. That maybe more on the production side I've managed to actually like sort of the recording side I feel is I've learned through music on the way. Marketing, maybe just being quite virulent on social media as well, like that. This was like when I was doing the the band. This was like this was like 2005-6, around that time. So this was pre-social media. I think MySpace might have been around at the time, but we didn't even use for I
remember you guys talking about MySpace. That was really funny to hear.
So yeah, of course the advertising what's the word I'm thinking of? Landscape has completely changed since then. In a way, I guess there's always television and stuff you can advertise on if you have the money. But yeah, I guess just telling people in your personal life, listen to the podcast, and hopefully they'll tell other people.
Yeah, the main blocking and tackling. Yeah, I noticed that at least in the early episodes of your podcast, you did something that's very natural, which is you interviewed your friends. It seems they were all good contacts. Now, at least by the time you got to the great Tim McCarthy and me, I know, or at least for me, maybe you knew Tim beforehand. I'm assuming you did
not before I reached out to him. Like I'd just started checking his podcast out. I was like, oh, this is fun. Yeah, gotta talk to this guy.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting when you think about my show. For obvious reasons that we don't need to rehash, but like there's no friends, no one's attached to it at all. So from the very beginning, I've had complete strangers. Those are the only people that are allowed to come on. Do you see yourself doing much more of just reaching out to people that you don't know, but you find entertaining and bringing them on your show?
Yeah, much more now since I think episode 8 maybe was the first person I had on who I didn't know, and then since then it's been gradually more and more people I don't know rather than people I do know. I'm trying to think of the last one I did with someone I did know. I can't think of the order now, but yeah, it is predominantly people I don't know now, which is good.
Yeah,
because you kind of run out of interest in
people. I think that's the spice of life. Yeah, right. Right. It is the spice of life. And there's something about having a platform, whether it's an audio podcast or a video podcast or a little bit of both or whatever. But when you have a platform and you reach out to someone and say, would you like to be on my show? They never say no. That's been my experience so far.
You haven't had a no yet.
Has that been your?
Yes.
No. Have you had
I've had
no?
a bunch of no's. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Everything. It's mainly because people have been too busy. I've had people not reply as well. But I've been surprised by some of the yeses as well, actually. Let's put that out there. Like, my friend Liam Amies, who's been on a couple of episodes, he's managed to hook me up with a few really good guests. Like, the last one I had on was Graham Duff, who wrote a really iconic comedy series in England called Ideal, and it was about a drug dealer and it was on the BBC. So yeah, that was pretty surprising. We had a guy on recently as well called his name's Stephen Friedland, but his his musical name was Brute Force, and he recorded a song that was going to be put out on Apple Records, which is the Beatles record label. And then for some reason, well, I know what the reason is. It's because the song it's called The King of Fur, and so when he was singing like the Fur King, it makes it sound like a rude word.
Yeah.
So yeah, he
yes.
So yeah, the actual the people who were in charge of distributing the records actually refused to release it at the time. So yeah, he was on the show. That's a really interesting story. What was the initial question?
Oh, who knows? Who knows, Ross? I guess I think we're I think we were talking about you branching out to people you don't know versus people you do, and you had said you were impressed with some of the people who have said yes. I did catch that episode, and I love how you played some of his song, the King of Pho song, and it was I found it to be very clever and very catchy. And yeah, he was an interesting character. Have you noticed anything? I don't know how closely you look at stats, but have you seen a more of an uptick in some of the more famous or celebrity type people you've had on your show versus your friends and
surprisingly
others?
Not actually. I think some of the people who have sort of trying to build a career for themselves have been the ones who have pushed it more. So it's the people who have sort of maybe even running their own podcasts who have sort of who are getting the most because they've actually been promoting it rather than some of the bigger ones. It's not always the name that grabs them, but you would assume so, but I guess that will be the case for some of them, but yeah, others not so much.
Yeah, I've heard that's very common. When you have a really high profile guest, it's very common for them to do nothing in the way of promotion for your episode. It's really kind of a bummer. But my plan, Ross, is to be just so enthralling and entertaining that I'm just gonna supersede any guest that I have on the show. That's my working plan right now. We'll see if I can pull it off.
Excellent.
How much editing do you do? Tell me about that.
Oh, okay. So not so much now, actually. I used to, a while ago, I used to edit out literally all the ums and ahs and even me and the guest, and it used to take 3 days to edit. So I was editing for 3 days, and then I realized I was wasn't leaving any time to do any promo or anything like that or make the clips. So I had a really nice sounding episodes that no one was listening to. So and then so I've laid off the editing, and I don't think it really makes that much difference. So now literally I will just, if one of us speaks over the other one, then I will edit that out. Or if what was the other thing, if someone didn't hear the question, I have to say the question again, then I'll just edit it so that as if they heard the question the first time. That's pretty much all the editing I do now. Yeah,
that's I don't know how familiar you are with my I get on a soapbox and I like to preach about don't edit and that sort of thing, but it does relate to I think you nailed it. It's the time you lose doing other things like promoting and maybe recording other content. That's what has always bothered me. And even admittedly, now for myself, I'm not the one doing the editing if there ever is editing. So I guess in a sense, why do I care? But it's still kind of the principle of the thing. So more often than not, I preach to other podcasters about, don't worry about editing so much. But that's just my thing.
I agree. Do you worry that it loses authenticity if it's edited too much as well?
I haven't thought too much about that, but now that you mention it, I've noticed I have some podcasting friends, and some of them you can tell are very aggressive with editing. They just, and I do think it reaches a point where it sounds unnatural. I think there, so, I believe it or not, Ross, I've been complimented from time to time on, of all things, my pauses.
Oh.
People have reached out. I remember another podcaster in particular. Actually, he called in one day, and he told me how much he was enjoying the show. And I said, well, he said, you're great to listen to. I said, well, why do you think that is? And he said, you don't worry about dead air. Like, when you're not talking, you're just not talking. Where I suppose most people are saying and that sort of thing.
You're okay with the silence.
For some reason, apparently I don't do that, or I don't know. But I agree. I think there's I can think. I'm not going to name names because I don't want to ruin anyone's whatever. Beef, yeah. But I can think of one show in particular that they do a lot of editing, and frankly, I can barely listen to it. It doesn't sound natural. It's just way too polished.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How do you have you thought of ever doing any other format than your interview?
You mean another kind of show? Yeah, I often think of sort of like either a streaming thing like you do, or like a thing like Tim does where he's just talking. But yeah, I just have not got around to it yet. It's something I really want to do though.
That's interesting. And I want to make sure not to forget another thing, another of the few things I learned about listening to your show. You mentioned you had a comedian on, I believe, and apparently you've tried comedy, but it was cut short by the pandemic. Tell me about your comedy career.
My short comedy career
or aspirations.
Yeah. I still have a plan to start again once the club's open. But yeah, I had a short stint doing open mic nights around the Brighton area, which is where I live, and yeah, the first one is the worst experience I've ever had on stage. It was, yeah, I like to say it was fortunate enough that it went so terribly that I don't think it would go like that again. And I don't know why, I went in feeling quite confident. Like, I thought like no one else was doing particularly well there as well, and then it sort of got to me getting on stage, and then I did not feel any of the like normal anxiety feelings I'd normally feel, so I thought like I was getting confident, and then I just suddenly all the physical sides of anxiety hit me, and my mouth like stopped being able to talk properly, and I was talking like and I couldn't get the jokes out, and everyone was just staring at me. I don't and I think I tried to do like 8 minutes or something, and I think I left after 7, and it was the worst 7 minutes I can imagine.
That's tremendous. That is tremendous. I've noticed on your show, Ross, you like to laugh a lot. So I mean, you enjoy having funny guests, and you enjoy a good joke and everything. Have you always aspired to try comedy, or is this something you're just kind of trying out?
It's something I've thought about for quite a while as well, since probably around the same time since the podcast I do. And then, yeah, it's hit me ages because I'd always like had stage fright ever since I was a kid. Like, public speaking's like was a complete no-go in my youth. I couldn't imagine doing it. And then, yeah, I sort of had to like force myself to do that. But yeah, I'd always just really enjoyed like storytelling just with friends, like retelling stories of stuff that had happened and stuff. So I knew I could do it, and also, yeah, just loved being around funny people and loved making people laugh. So yeah, I guess there was something inside me, but it wasn't something that I'd ever like visualized until the last 5 years.
Now, have you been working on new material this whole time in preparation for coming back after?
Yeah, I've kind of let it slide the last few months, but up till then I was like trying to write every day. So yeah, I do have a lot of stuff to try out when it comes to it. So that's
Wow.
Yeah, I like to get into the habit of doing stuff. Otherwise I just don't do it. So are you? I guess with your podcast, doing it every morning, are you a big sort of build habits person?
No, not at all. And I think that's maybe why I do it every morning. I'm such a crazy person, and my problem is I'm so fascinated with life. I mean, really, almost any aspect of life, I can find fascinating. So I guess I'm a person that does not get bored very quickly. But one might say I'm easily distracted, and that might be why I'm good on my show. You know, it's this free form thing, and I get to almost like have ADD or whatever they're calling
ADHD.
it this week. ADHD.
Have you been
ADD,
diagnosed, or do you
know.
think you do have it?
No, I have no idea, and I could care less because it's like I don't see how that's going to change anything. It's like I am what I am, you know.
That's fair enough.
Now I suppose I could get, diagnosed and then whatever start.
If you're making it work up to this
I'm
point,
cool.
then there's no point, is there?
Yeah, I'm used to driving this car with its eccentricities. I'm not going to go trade it in for something else. But but I think because I'm so easily distracted that way, I think it's very good for me to have a set schedule. And oddly enough, Ross, and by the way, I need to acknowledge that you've again taken over the show, but I'm going to go with it. You're interviewing me again, Ross, because you're such a good subversive interviewer.
I'm sneaky.
But oh God, what the hell was I saying? No, believe it or not, my show, I've been running it like an experiment because, as I said, I'm so easily distracted, and I kind of like what you said about your earlier podcasts, etc. It's like, yeah, we didn't even release them. It's like that sounds like me in a way. I could totally see doing that. When my show started, and once I realized that it was actually something that people were watching, and it was, I just thought I was going to be an idiot talking to a camera, and one or two people, would happen by, and I'd get to talk to them. Once I could see, oh, it's really a thing, and this is happening, then really I've been going through a series of experimenting, and the baseline of the experiment, the main question I'm trying to answer is, can I keep doing this? Can I sustain this thing that is happening? And amazingly, so far the answer is yes. I do generally feel like I don't want to. Again, I'm a person, I don't like to half-ass things. And so I just can't have a mediocre thing. My one of my VIP's friends, Georgie girl, she said to me yesterday on the phone, I said to her, we were talking on the phone, and I said, Georgie, do you think I need to be, I said something like, do you think I need to be excellent at everything I do? And she said, yes. Yes, like absolutely. It's like, okay, all right. So it is an experiment for me. I suppose in a way, Ross, you've kind of said you're doing the same thing. Like you're going to do 100 shows and then see what you think. If you had to bet, you're at episode, see, this is me trying to take control again, Ross. So here we go. This is going to be an interviewing duel. So you're at what episode? I think I was episode 32.
Yeah, I just recorded
if I remember
episode
correctly.
33. Yeah.
Okay. So if you had to bet, if you were pressed to bet after episode 100, are you going to keep going or not? What are you thinking?
It completely depends on the day and what kind of mood I'm in when you ask me today. As of today, I'm having a great time talking to you. I'm feeling positive about it. So yeah, I'd say probably I'd carry on going. But then yeah, Maybe it just depends on what kind of mood I'm in when I release episode 100. I might be like, this
absolutely.
is trash. I'm done. Hopefully I carry on and find enjoyment. It's whether the enjoyment of it outweighs the effort it takes to do it. I guess that's the only thing. And I'm enjoying it right now. So yeah, if it feels the same, I'd probably do it.
That's good. That's good. I'm going to introduce you to a blind spot you have.
Oh, yeah.
Are you ready? Yeah. Okay. So you're just something you're not plugging into the equation yet, Ross. You'll get there. You'll figure it out. But something you're not thinking about yet is it sounds like somewhere, maybe before episode 100, who knows, but you're going to have a wife in there. So in other words, you've got a board of directors, right? So you're gonna be getting some input as well.
She's gonna be like a second producer
from your main investor. Yeah. She's either gonna say, Ross, keep going, or Ross, look in the mirror. Yeah, that's good.
I love that.
That's another advantage I have, Ross. Right? I'm a sole proprietor. Now that means that the bad side is when it crashes and burns, it's all my fault. There's no one else I can point to.
Can't be like blooming wife ruining it.
Yeah, that's the way it is. So I think in listening to your shows, so I'm, as I've revealed, I was in getting ready. I'm just trying to figure out who you are, and what you're like and all that sort of thing. So I'm going to tell you what I think I intuit from what I've listened so far. You strike me as like, and I love that you're a musician because that's something you and I have in common. You're probably at your core, you seem like a fairly laid back person.
I'd say so.
Like you're probably that person, and maybe this is why you're so good interviewing other people. You're probably one of those people that no one feels threatened by. Everyone just feels comfortable with. You're like a happy-go-lucky person. Do you think that's accurate?
Yeah, I'd say so. Obviously, it's impossible to know what other people think, but I do find sometimes I'm in situations with people I don't know as well, and they've told me saying, it's like, oh, maybe I wouldn't have shared that with you, like how well we know each other, but maybe that's... So that could be either because they are just a sharing person, or whether I just made them feel comfortable somehow. But yeah, don't know.
Got it. Yeah. You in general, you seem to have kind of a laid back approach in a way. I noticed on some of your early, I think maybe even episode 1, your friend was saying, "Why are you doing this?" Or what's the plan? And you said, I have no idea. And I loved that.
So, I don't know.
I love that.
Yeah. I think the answer is yes.
Do you feel like
quite laid back.
That's good. That's good. That's the way to be. And in your band with Ian, I believe you said you were the lead singer in that band, right? And are you the lead singer in your new band?
No, my partner is. Yeah, she's the Joanna of the Joanna and the Dropouts. But yeah, my voice has gone a bit now.
You said that, and I didn't catch that.
That's right. Yeah,
okay, got it.
My singing voice is not what it used to be. I smoked cigarettes and marijuana for many years, so I don't quite have the pipes I used to have as a young fella. But yeah, yeah.
Are you still? Are you playing rhythm guitar in this band, or what instruments are you playing?
I'm the bass guitarist. I play bass.
You are.
Like a bit of bass now.
In the band with Ian, you were playing rhythm
guitar
and
singing. And singing. Yeah.
Yeah, bass. Wow, that's really cool.
I quite like bass now actually, because you can mess up and it's less obvious than the other instruments because it's such a lower frequency that people don't. It kind of just complements the other instruments more than actually Yeah. So I quite like
Yeah.
that about it. It's a lot less nerve-wracking playing in front of people.
What do you think Ian would be doing if he were still
Oh
alive?
God, I don't even know. I'd imagine still playing music, but then that's based on how I knew him from all those years ago. Yeah, he was a very, very dedicated guitarist who loved concentrating on the guitar loads and used to play like for hours every day, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard to know, isn't it? Hopefully, we would have still been in contact.
Yeah.
I couldn't even say that for sure because, yeah.
Yeah. How long ago did he pass away?
Let me work this out. So if we were both 18 at the time. I'm now 32. So what's that? Is that 14 years?
14 years?
So about 14.
Or 20, wait. Yeah, 14 years.
Ago. So yeah.
I used to be able to do math last year. As recently as last year. Is there something about podcasting that has ruined my math brain? I don't know.
You're probably better analytically now, though.
Yeah, it sounds like I really enjoyed the way you and your guest were talking about Ian's great musicianship, and it's interesting to wonder, would he have just kept going and going and going, or would he? It sounds like listening to you guys describe how he cared for his guitar. Like when he would tune it, he sounds like he was a meticulous person. At least he was with that guitar.
Yeah, for sure.
I especially liked how you guys mentioned that this was not a particularly high-end guitar. This was a run of the mill, and he treated it like it was a jewel. You know?
Yeah. He loved this guitar, and it's like I think he was even buried with it. I'm not even sure if that's I'm supposed to say it on a podcast as well, but it's really nice.
No kidding.
Yeah, he's buried with it.
Oh my
and
goodness.
It was this. I don't know if you the make of guitar is called Stag, and so it's like it was like a Fender. I think it was a Telecaster, if you know what that kind of guitar is. But it was like a sort of a budget version, so you could like buy it at a lower price than an actual thing. So yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, he was really fond of that guitar.
That's really
I think
cool.
he even got like a better guitar since having that guitar, but that was always just the guitar he used. And yeah.
Wow.
It's very beautiful.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another story that just still exists, I'll give a little teaser. Maybe someone will pull it out of me someday. But so I talked my way into spending the day with Willie Nelson's band one day, and I was on his tour bus for most of the day. Oh, we had a great time. So that's a story for another day, but I'll tell you, we got to talking about Willie's guitar, and actually one of the guys I hung out with all day was his guitar tech. And he told me, he said, because I said, now this thing's going to be like in the Smithsonian someday. I said, what lengths do you go to care for this instrument? It's legendary. And he said, you wouldn't believe, this thing is beat to hell. He said it gets rained on. He basically said it's we don't take very good care of it. I was like, dude, this is it's Willie Nelson's guitar. This is Trigger we were talking about. He told me, he said, yeah, we had it at an outdoor gig like last month, and it started pouring down rain. The thing got rained on, it was a few minutes. I just thought, I can't. It's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah, that's a story for another day.
That's so funny, the contrast to that. You either love your guitar or you just drag it around on a string. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, yeah, I was really blown away by that story. So have you had any maybe famous bands that you've played with or been on a bill with?
My current band, no. Trying to think of previous bands. Well, basically, I don't know how famous any of these bands are, but we had a sort of quite a good lineup because for we did a show at this place in Wantage. It was called the Sweatbox, and it was like part of the school that was there at the time. It's actually been built over in my hometown, but so we did a couple of bigger shows there for people who died. So there's one for Ian, and then like another friend of mine, Alex, who died a few years before. He like fell off a roof, so that's pretty bad. But so yeah, there was first one for him, and a bunch of bands played there. I'm actually blanking on the names now, but none of them were like that. I think it was called 64 Days of Static played one of them. I think they're fairly famous. And then what was the other? I can't even remember who played the other one, but yeah. So what's her name?
It goes to show what a long shot being in music is.
For sure. Yeah.
It's very rare, it seems. I will say falling off a roof is a much more rock and roll way to die than meningitis. I don't mean to besmirch Ian's memory. But a rock and roller would want to fall off a roof, I would think, if given the choice.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah.
So any plans to change up the show, or what are you thinking about tweaking and doing? What's going on?
No. It's going to be a gradual thing, of course. I'd quite like to maybe redo the intro so it's sort of like sounds a bit better, but yeah, because I made the intro myself on guitar and just produced the drums, and I think I played bass on it as well. And then the spelling out of my surname is by my partner and the other lady who was in my band with me as well at the time, but she's moved to Canada. At first I wanted the Trevena to be sort of like loads of people, like a cheerleading, but I only managed to persuade two people to do it, and it sounds pretty good as it is. So
I actually think, Ross, that it's very well done.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I think it's very well done. And I might have said on your show, I don't entirely remember, but I've said before several times, once you're a podcaster, you listen to a lot of podcasts, and I will just say that your intro music, definitely sets you apart.
Oh, thank you.
That's it's very well done. Yeah. So, well, it sounds like you're generally going to stay the course and keep racking up guests.
Oh yeah, one way
I like that. Have you ever thought about?
So I was going to say one way I would like to
go ahead.
Upgrade is just by doing more interviews in person now that the pandemic's almost now that the lockdown's almost over. That's something I'm looking forward to. Sorry, what were you going to ask?
I don't remember. Who knows? If it's older than 3 seconds ago, Ross, I'm done for. As a matter of fact, I have my name written on the wall behind the camera here so I can remember what my name is. I'm just kidding. It's not that bad. Hey, Ross. I know you haven't done much comedy at all. It sounds like you're budding, but I gather you've been around comedians. Do you think that's something I could try? Like, would you encourage me to try to do stand-up comedy at some point?
Sorry, you cut out for the whole of that question. What did you ask?
Oh my gosh, it was the best question of the whole show.
It's the killer question.
I was saying, and this is going to be interesting to see if I edit that out or if I just. I was saying, do you think comedy is something that I could do? Like, do you think I should try it?
Yes, I do.
Really?
Yeah. Well, you essentially do.
I don't know.
Comedy by yourself, just talking about what you're thinking about. So yeah, I think if you put your mind to it and started writing some stuff down, I think you're interested.
Yeah. It occurs to me.
What's that?
I'm curious. I'm curious about comedy. Now, I think part of the, my advantage. I have a few advantages that have helped me in podcasting, and I think would probably help me in comedy. And that's I don't really need to support myself, so I think I could approach it with this. Who cares? Like a fearless attitude, which might serve me well.
Laid back, yeah.
But I would think one of the big differences, Ross, would be that what I do now, I don't get any immediate feedback from the audience members, which is probably a great advantage. If I were in a live audience, I'd be expecting someone to laugh, and when they didn't laugh, I would think, "Oh my gosh, what happened there?"
Do you imagine people laughing when you're doing the podcast?
No. You know what's funny? I do. It's all for myself. It's all do I make myself laugh? It's really it's a very selfish thing I do every morning. Do I make myself laugh? It's the strangest thing. I'm just very lucky that apparently some other people enjoy it, which gives me reason to keep doing it so that I can make myself laugh.
Well, the first time I listened to your show was when you gave my show the shout out, which was very nice of you. But what was it? You talking about Elvis on the toilet or something, and then you said a really funny word for a toilet, and it floored me for some reason. I can't remember.
Oh,
I can't remember what the word was now, but
I wonder if I said turlet.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah,
turlet.
I think I was laughing already at what you were saying, and then you said turlet, and it just got funnier.
That's interesting. Yeah. Well, it's occurred to me. As a matter of fact, I think Bill Burr said once that his podcast is just a way that he just sort of mines for like new material. He walks away from his podcast like just kind of saying, "Did I say anything funny today? Maybe I'll work with that." I don't know.
It's a good way to flush out what you're thinking.
Yeah, I think so. You should try it. You know what you could do, Ross? You could. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about Reddit. Just turn it on one day, and go see what happens.
Yeah, I thought it'd be a good experiment to alternate between Reddit and Instagram and just see which is better. But yeah, it sounds like you're getting really good results on Reddit, so I'm quite tempted to.
I had 1,000 viewers today. This morning.
That's unbelievable.
Isn't that something?
Sorry to be the person who keeps asking questions, but here's a question I have for you. What was the point where you said at first it was just like you'd get like random people coming in, and then you must have started picking up an audience after a while. Do you remember a crossover point when it was more audience than it was random people, or do you just not remember when that happened?
No, I generally remember, and I would say it really happened. I was surprised at how early it happened. It really happened, I would say by episode 6 or 7. I would regularly, I could see that people in the live stream, I recognized their names, and they would, that's when they started really kind of giving me this greeting, first thing, and like, "Hey, Tony, hey, good to see you." It's like their way of saying, "I'm back, and I'm glad you're here doing this again."
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Now, what's funny now is, like this morning, I'm now going into this other phase where the comment section is moving too fast. I can't follow it. So I'm actually having this technical difficulty, which is ironic right now because you've frozen on my screen. Are you still there, Ross? Oh,
I think I lost internet. Sorry about that. What were you saying?
Oh, that's fine. Oh, God, who knows what I'm saying? Oh, what I was saying, I've reached this interesting point now where the the comment section is going too fast now in my live stream, so I can't follow it. So now I've been through this sweet spot in the middle where it's been really good, and people it's been growing a little bit, and now it's like a little too active. So now I have a riddle to solve, and that's how can I interact with the comment section in a way that's comfortable? Because what happens is I'll be reading a comment, and it'll just scroll because people are adding comments all the time. So it's just this interesting little problem. But you should totally experiment with it for fun. Just see what happens. My advice is I wouldn't come on at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You're going to get crushed.
That's so funny.
Yeah, but it's easy. And I was saying to my buddies at the We Have Issues podcast the other day, they were asking me about Reddit. And I said, look at how low the bar is. Other people that are live streaming, you're competing against, someone, adding bird seed to their bird seeder, and then or bird feeder. Then here's a guy changing the oil on his, 1983, whatever, Toyota Corolla. It's just stupid shit. And then you can do a show. People are so starved for something real that they'll watch what you're doing. So that's what I did. I surrounded myself with idiots. That's my secret.
I did like that. That's actually good. Did you, when you saw how scarce the talent was on there, did that instantly occur to you? It was like, oh, I could do really well on here, or was it just the platform you happened to choose?
It's just the platform I happen to choose. And frankly, Ross, what's weird, what I don't even understand about what I did is I did not, when I started getting on Reddit, it was just to interact with people. In a certain way, I don't even know why I did it as if I'm doing a show. What most people do on Reddit is they turn it on and they kind of sit there and they wait for someone to type something. The mystery with me, Ross, is why did I hit live stream on Reddit and start talking immediately? There was something about the dead air that I didn't like, and I think the very first time I hit this, I just started talking. And I naturally, it's bizarre. Somehow, I think because I didn't like the dead air, I think what it was, Ross, if I remember, I did not like dead air. I didn't like just sitting there. And so I wanted to talk, and I think my brain said, well, I'm going to start talking as if this is a program so I don't look like a total idiot. It was just a happy accident.
Did you feel silly?
Before?
If you weren't talking?
Yeah, I felt silly. And as I said on your show, one of the first couple of episodes, people were calling me grandpa and all this stuff. So, yeah. It took some cojones to keep going, but it didn't last very long. The rest is history.
Oh, that's cool. It's good you kept at it.
I don't know. Yeah, I got addicted to it pretty quick. Yeah.
I bet.
I love it. It's super fun. All I ask, Ross, is if you try it, you just got to let me know.
What, after I tried it or before?
Let me know so I can... Before, so I know to watch for it. I guess I can also watch it after the fact.
I was going to do a couple in secret before I announced it. But
yeah. And that's smart.
But maybe I'll tell you right away.
But
you can watch me eat turds in front of no one.
Right.
It's just you trolling me. Oh man.
You know what? Honestly, I probably would do that.
Your Reddit name's not Tony.
Yeah, no, right. My Reddit name is Libby Nader. Libby
Yeah, where
Nader.
did that come from?
It's really my computer guy's Reddit account.
Oh.
So I have no idea what he was thinking. I mean, you got to remember, I never planned on being this internet sensation, right? So there's no planning that went on at all. But I'll tell you a funny story. I was a few months ago. I was here in the office real early. It was way before my show started, and I was bored, so I got on RPAN. And there's this guy. He does this live stream most mornings. It's like 4 a.m. Paul's Garage is what it's called. It's just a guy sitting in his garage, and he does what most people do. He'll sit there and just look at his phone, and when somebody types a comment, then he'll respond to it. But otherwise, he just sits there, right? So it's 4 a.m. I get on his live stream, and I just like typed hello or something like that, you know. And again, my account says Libby Nader, right? It's like 5 seconds later, someone types Chicago Tony V's on your stream. They know me well enough. They know what my Reddit name is.
Oh.
And then the guy, this Paul guy, he says Chicago Tony's on my thing. It's like everyone knew who I was. It was the weirdest thing.
You couldn't just sneak in, yeah. Yeah, it's fine. No one will
Very
realize.
bizarre. Very bizarre. But yeah, I was surprised. I could understand when people see my fat face and the rose-colored glasses and all this. I could understand if they visually see me. But they just saw that Reddit name, Libby Nader, and enough people knew who I was. I was floored.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Anyway, whatever. Yeah, who knew? Who knew? Well, Ross, it's awesome to get to know you more. When are you guys getting married? Is the date set?
Yeah. I'm trying to think. It was changed from last year. It's July 9th.
July 9th. Okay. Do not let her see this. Don't let her see that you stalled that long. You're supposed to have this committed to memory. It's supposed to be just, you're supposed to be obsessed with this. Don't let her see you waffle on that.
It's fine. She's
Ross.
pretty much my calendar as it is, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what I said earlier is doubly true. The future of your podcast is going to be in her hands. She'll let you know what you're doing.
She'll remind me of upcoming stuff.
You're going to enjoy that. No. Yeah. There you go. Ross, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah.
And congratulations on the upcoming wedding.
Oh, thanks so much.
It's been thanks again for having me on your show.
Yeah. I've had fun both times.
It's my pleasure.